welcome. This is Gary Wheeler, and you are listening to High Strangeness. Unfortunately, I'm having a bit of a problem with the board here, trying to figure out what's going on. A little crazy. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm sure there's some background going on here because there's a lot of music coming through here, which shouldn't be happening, actually. And it doesn't quite make any sense that it's happening. Have patience with me, please. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what's transpiring with this music. It's really quite strange. I will, Well, as I say, have patience. I'll keep trying to work on this. But I'm hearing something I'm not sure you're hearing. And I don't know why that's happening. Huh, very odd. I will turn this off now. And hopefully, I will get to a place where I can understand what's going on here. This is Gary Wheeler, your host, and the show is High Strangeness, if I can ever get it working properly. And High Strangeness is a place where the unbelievable is believed until proven otherwise. I'm glad to be here in person this time. The last few weeks have been some of them which I had to miss because of the storms and the way the weather's been. It's nice to be able to be here today and see the sunshine and kind of feel the little possibility that spring might be around the corner. And it's a nice day. So welcome, and the theme that I was trying to play was by Dean Brody. It was called Crop Circles. And for some reason it didn't come through properly. So anyway, I'll move on and try to see what's going to work out here next. But tonight I can accept calls because I'm here. And I'd appreciate callers. You can call anytime during the show, and I'll pause whatever's going on to take your call. The number here for calls is 207-593-0013. That's 593-0013. And again, to repeat a little for your information, I remind you about your digital cameras and the fact that they, when you take pictures, they're picking up subtle frequencies in the infrared and ultraviolet range that we don't see or hear. And so you may see things in the picture that you didn't see when you took the picture. And surprisingly enough, sometimes UFOs appear in shots of the sky. So just take notice, pay a little extra attention. Again, for those of you who are any kind of doubters about the whole ET thing or UFOs, I recommend you go to the website that shows the crop circles that have appeared in the last year, and also in archives of many of the crop circles that occurred over many, many years. The website is ccdb.ws. This year to date, of course, the crop circles are over now because the harvest has happened, so there's no wheat. But the ones who this year there was over 31 new ones. And to me, they're just absolutely fascinating because, there's a message there, but interpreting exactly what it is not too easy. I'd like to thank my sponsors, too, and Diverse Landscapes here in Rockland, and Eric Best, who's an author and business consultant. Also, I remind you that our fundraising is still going on, even though it's a pretty low-key level. We're getting close to the amount needed for the move, but we always appreciate anybody who's capable of donating a little bit or a lot. So if this month you're feeling really flush, you could send a few bucks to the station. And the way to do that would be to go to the website, wrfr.org, and there'll be instructions there about how to make donations. Okay, today's show actually is going to be about abductions, which is kind of a very controversial subject in the whole UFO ET community. And I think it brings out things in people that are both frightening and hard to imagine that something like that abduction could actually happen. And yet, when they look over the years, especially the 70s, 80s, and 90s, now in retrospect, they estimate there was over 1 million interactions. The people who actually experience these interactions don't like to be called abductees. They prefer the term experiencers. Now, many years ago, for me, I guess almost 20 years ago, I was living on a boat in San Francisco, my sailboat, and I had a profound experience one night, which I couldn't really figure out what was going on. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what occurred years later, because it was the kind of experience that I didn't really understand, but it had a power to it that was way beyond what a dream has. And some of the images in it just would never quite leave me. But one of the images, especially remember, was this orb I saw, which really seemed like something that I had never seen before. But when I reflected on it, of course, you try to make sense out of what's going on. So I thought, well, it must have been the sun or the moon or something like that. Well, I knew inside that wasn't the case. It really wasn't that. The color was absolutely phenomenal. I've never seen a color like that. And part of my own experience during this particular event was a kind of unbelievable ecstasy that I had. I've never felt that ever then or, before or now. So, something definitely occurred, and part of it had to do with my memories being uploaded, because I could actually see my memories going backwards. And I did see some images of, I don't know if I would call them beings, but they were very smoke kind of images that weren't really there, but they were there. So all in all, I didn't have any idea what that was, and it really concerned me for a lot of years. But it's the kind of thing you put in the back of your mind and say, well, I just don't have an answer for any of this. I don't know what's going on. Well, years later, I picked up a book on abductions by John Mack that I think couldn't be. It was one of those serendipitous experiences that I was looking for a book on UFOs, and that was the only one they had. So anyway, I read this book, and there was, which was about his interaction with a lot of people who had been abducted, and there was one story that a person talked about, and it was identical to what I had experienced, especially the color of the orb. So, that really fascinated me, and to be honest, it was the only thing that really made sense that happened to me. But I never felt as though I was abducted in the sense of against my will, although some people feel that have had that experience. And some people have had abduction experiences several times during their life, and actually their parents and so on have also been abducted, or their children. So there seems to be a pattern to it. But anyway, it's extremely fascinating. So today, this audio is it's called a debate, but it isn't actually a debate between Bud Hopkins and John Mack. Now, Bud Hopkins was a abstract artist who worked in New York, but also worked on Cape Cod. And back in those days, they would have these meetings and talk about things. And he started meeting people who claimed they had these experiences, and with his ability to communicate with people, he got a reputation for somebody that you could talk to if you had this experience. So it just is he came as mainly the center person at that time around helping people with abductions. And at a social event, he met John Mack, who was a psychiatrist at Harvard, very well respected, and actually won the Pulitzer Prize around his biography of Lawrence of Arabia. So extremely professional and respected. And Hopkins asked him if he would be interested in seeing some of these people, from the standpoint of a psychiatrist. It has to be quite fascinating. So he did. And as time went on and seeing many, many, many people, he was convinced that these people were having real experiences. And so this event that I'll play occurred, I think, probably around 2001 at the John Hancock Hall in Boston. And it was moderated by a man named Christopher Lydon, which is the first voice you will hear. This particular discussion is very informative. Plus, I can't emphasize enough that these men were very respected in their fields, and that John Mack, especially the psychiatrist, went through a lot of difficulty at Harvard because he was doing this kind of work. In fact, they tried to take his seniority away, but he fought it, and he won, actually, saying that what he was doing was in line with his psychiatric research. So very interesting men, very bold, that they would actually do what they were doing and bring it to the public. So I'm going to start the audio now, and hopefully it'll work. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that. It doesn't seem as though, for some reason, the tape is playing through to these stations, to the speakers. I can hear it here, but it's pretty evident it's not coming through to you out there. I'm sorry about that. And there's nobody here that can help me at the moment, but I'm not sure what has been turned off or turned on. I get plenty of sound here, but I don't get anything that I feel is coming out to you, which doesn't make for a good radio show. So I'm sorry about that. All I can do is let you know that I'm here, and if anybody wants to place a call, hopefully that might work, but I'm not even sure if that's going to work. So I don't really have much choice but to, put on the music again and try to figure out what's going on. Again, I apologize, but boy, I can't figure out why it's not coming through to you. So bear with me and listen to the music, or give me a call so I can at least see if it's working. And if you're listening, maybe you could call the station and so I can test whether it's going to work or not. As I said before, the number here is 593-0013. Okay, I'm going to put on the music now. Hopefully that will work. Well, I can see that that doesn't want to work either. I'm in a hot spot here. I don't know what to do. The World in Song isn't even coming through, this whole thing is extremely baffling. I can see that my voice is coming over by the board, but when I try to turn on one of the other stations to get the other tapes to come through, it just sort of shuts down. So I'm sorry about that, and we'll try to, as I say, figure out what's going on. But
you can definitely count of the return of the gods.
It really isn't making any sense to me at all what's going on. It's like this board has its own mentality. Now here's a call. Let me see if I can answer it and get a response. Hello?
Hi, Jerry. It's me.
Okay, you're coming through.
Yes, I know. I'm coming through, and I'm also sending you text to let you know what's going on.
Well, I can't read it and talk at the same time.
Oh, dear.
So what is happening? What do you hear?
Well, I can hear my voice coming over the radio and your voice as well right
okay.
now.
Yeah, but when I played anything else, it didn't come through, right?
What?
When I was playing anything else, it didn't come through.
No.
So the only thing that comes through is my voice.
Yeah, there was the tape that you put on about 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, about maybe 15 seconds of it played,
Right.
and then it went out. Then it didn't, then nothing.
Yeah. Well, I'm in trouble, and there's nobody here to help me. So all I can say is thank you for calling, Ann.
You're very welcome.
And do you have anything more profound to say, or
No, I don't.
are you making the tapioca?
I'm finished making that. Now I'm making banana bread.
Oh, okay. Oh, boy, that's good. All right. Well, I'll let you go, and I'll just sort of sit here and wait for somebody else to call. I can't even get the standard music to come on, but thanks for letting me know. So at least we know the telephone works. All right. Thanks, Al. See you later.
Do as well as you are in this kind of a bind.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, bye.
So here we are. Let me see again. I'll try again. I'll just mess around here to see if I can't get some kind of response out of something here that makes sense.
Yes.
See, that makes no sense at all. That's World in Song, and it's playing something that I had a recording of a couple of weeks ago. So I'm a bit at a loss of why I can't get anything else to come up here. So here we are. So give me a call and tell me about your UFO experiences, or just talk to me about something that concerns you, events in your life that are interesting. I am a psychologist, so I can listen to all kinds of things and maybe be helpful. I'm not an electronics guy, so I don't really know what's happening. And Joe Steinberger, the station owner, had just left, so it kind of leaves me in a space where I can't make this happen. And but it is a beautiful day, and we do the best we can. And at this station, everybody's a volunteer, so we each have a certain kind of knowledge, but we're also limited on how everything exactly works. And it's difficult when something goes wrong and you have 30 buttons in front of you and 10 different slide channels trying to figure out why the only thing that's coming through is the microphone and my voice, and nothing else is doing it, which I feel bad about, because I was really looking forward to presenting this audio, because it's fascinating stuff. And if I can't get through, now, I'm sure by next week I'll have it straightened out. But it's truly a mystery why it's behaving as it is, and I can't really explain.
Depicting images of life on Earth being threatened with extinction by natural or man-made.
What really is going on, which is so wild. Oh, well, there are those times when electronics just take over and your brain sort of goes dead on you, and when it comes to how do you analyze something and make it work. So I'm going to more or less shut down for a minute here and see if I can figure out what's going on. I can't seem to get the sound to come through to the station, so I'm going to, my voice is getting tired, I'm going to basically sign off and see if I can figure this out. And I'm sorry for the silence, but feel free to call, because I am here. Okay, let me mess around with this, and maybe I can make something happen. Thanks for your patience.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah.
how you doing?
Hey, it's Cindy, my girl.
Oh, hi, Cindy.
I have a lot of technical problems, too. And I took a photo of the soundboard, and so you can kind of see, like, what buttons are up and what are down and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, can I send you an email of it?
Oh, sure. Although I'm looking right at it. If you have any ideas,
Yeah, well, I know sometimes like all the yellow buttons should be up.
right? And they all appear to be up.
They all appear to be up,
Right.
and I think the red buttons are all down. And
Yep, they appear to be all down.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like a weird problem.
Yeah, it is
Not be
because
that.
my voice comes through fine.
Yeah,
And before I came on air, the regular, sound stuff was coming through.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden, as soon as I put in a tape to play the audio,
uh-huh.
the only thing I could hear was it coming through the speaker here, but it didn't come through the radio.
So which thing are you on? Are you on a CD or through a computer?
No, on the CD, on the CD
CD.
player here, yeah. But
Yeah. If you go up to the top of the and if you make sure all the red and the yellow button are right on that row,
right.
I think at the top, like there's some of those knobs that turn. Maybe one of those got like turned down all the way or something.
No, they seem
that one on the very top.
they seem all the same. The gain seems the same.
Yeah.
And all the red buttons should be down, right? They're all down.
I'm pretty sure they're all down.
Yeah. The yellow buttons are all up.
And the yellow buttons are all up.
Yeah.
And there's also those buttons on the upper right-hand side there, like
Right.
up in the corner. Sometimes if those aren't right, I think
It's,
something can go
the
wrong.
ones that say studio
Yeah,
monitor, yeah.
yeah. But
No.
I don't. It's weird though because a little bit of your CD did play. Like
Well, the problem it really baffles me is I turn on World in Song. I put that lever up,
yeah,
and what's coming on is a tape but it's a tape I played last week. So it's really baffling what it's hooking into.
oh.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
What did you record it? I wonder if is it in World in Song? The thing. you
No,
put
it
there?
shouldn't be. I mean,
No?
that was last week, and I'm kind of at a loss why that would even come up.
Yeah.
And when I do the CD one with the tape in there, I can hear it here. It comes through the speaker really loud,
Yeah.
but it's not going into the radio.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it might be a wire or something has come loose.
It could be,
The, behind the soundboard.
Yeah, well, it could be,
No,
but
that's
that's
not,
beyond. I'm
yeah.
afraid that's beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, that's beyond most of us.
Yeah, well, this is kind of fun to do a show like this or any show, but there's some technical aspect of it that we don't really know about. So
Yeah, I have problems.
and plus, my concern right now is I can't get the World in Song on either. So I
Yeah.
mean, when I shut down, it's going to be dead air, which is the biggest sin in the world.
Yeah. Well, it was on though before you came on.
I know it was,
Yeah.
and I didn't
Yeah.
change anything.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, the whole thing is very weird. So.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to send you that picture, or do you think it might?
Well, I mean, I don't
for a
know
long
quite what
time.
your picture would give me because the board's right in front of me.
Yeah.
And everything you said is what I sort of already knew and checked.
Yeah.
And I think something has turned off or
Come loose.
there are cross wires or something that is not
Yeah.
allowing that transmission to take place.
Yeah.
So hopefully maybe somebody who is hearing us now, maybe Kyle or Joe left so I couldn't talk to him,
Yeah.
will hear us and help us figure this out. But I appreciate you calling.
Okay.
Have
Well,
you ever seen a UFO?
Have I ever seen a UFO?
Yeah.
I'm going to admit that yes, I have.
I thought so.
I like your show.
How did that happen?
How did it happen? Well, I've actually had a couple of different things that I've seen that were very strange. Once when I was a teenager, I was out with some friends and we saw this like really huge light, with no sound, so it wasn't like a faraway aircraft or something.
Right.
And then I don't know. I've seen other kinds of weird things.
How did it
I'm
make you
open to
feel?
believing. How did it make me feel?
Yeah, when you saw something like that. I mean.
Well, it kind of makes you feel like you don't ever want to tell anybody.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Because you're crazy. How can
Yeah.
you say that? Yeah, that's very true. I'm afraid that's
Yeah.
true. But
Yeah.
what I find
But-
as soon as you say it, if you're in a group with 5 people, 3 of them will say they had some kind of experience. So
Yeah.
it's much more common than people really know or admit
Yeah.
with the amount of people out there. So that's
Yeah. No, but it didn't make me feel afraid,
no, right,
Right. But I didn't see anything beyond the light,
right.
So,
A mystery.
yeah.
So you embrace the mystery.
Sure.
And who knows what's next, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can't figure out this mystery right now, but hopefully something will happen. But
Yeah.
thank you for calling.
Okay. I hope somebody else will call.
I'm sure.
Knows more than I do.
Yeah, it's probably the best way to get people to call.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
So that was really a nice phone call by somebody trying to help out with this desperate situation here that I find myself in. Oh boy! And it's so frustrating when you look at a board like this and you know how it's supposed to work, and you push buttons and bring up levers and nothing happens like it's supposed to, and there doesn't seem to be a quick fix. One thing I might be able to try to do is see if I could give the station manager a call if I have her number here, because one of the things about this station is there's nobody here. You're sort of on your own, and I don't see her number here. So no, so I can't call her right now. Maybe she'll call me if she's listening. You never know. You never know who's listening. That's one thing about this radio gig, is you sit here in this room by yourself with a microphone and the board in front of you, and you don't know if anybody's out there or not really listening to you. Although I've done this show long enough now that I've gotten responses from people that tell me at least some people are listening, but you never know who they are or what's going on with that. But it's kind of fun because, it could be talking to the whole world out there, and you never know exactly who it is. Or since the show is streaming, you might think that somebody in China is listening to it who has had a UFO experience. Excuse me just a second. I think I hear a sound. Maybe somebody's here that can help. Joe? Yeah. I'm having trouble with the board. I can't get anything to come over it. Really? Except my voice. I can talk. I've been talking, but I can't. Nothing. The world song's not coming through. The tape won't come through.
Really?
Yeah. And I was looking at all the buttons, and I think, hi, I'm back, and I have the man himself right here, who knows everything.
I know everything, but
He's responsible, but if he hears the world in song, try to put that on, and
well, put it up.
Places in old Greece, etc., including the old writings, bring mankind of the future to the question, what's wrong? Now you ask the question, have you been visited by beings from outer space?
I guess Joe scheduled it to be on now.
that's from last week.
Yeah, well, that's a mistake.
So
But you could play a CD.
I thought I tried a CD. I have one in. It won't play. Hello, Gary Wheeler, WRFR.
Hey, Gary, something came
Hello.
Hi, it's me. Through for about the same as before.
Hello?
For a few seconds. Hello?
I'm sorry you're not coming through for some reason.
I'm coming through on the radio.
As I say, the board just isn't responding. And I answered a telephone call, but now it doesn't work again. It worked before. So,
Well, you know what I think we should try to do, if we want, is to put another CD in, or put a CD in the other CD player.
okay, we're gonna try something here. I appreciate your patience. I haven't used this one before.
All right, so this one we have to
Yeah, I can get this out of here.
eject, right? All right, and then we'll say open, close.
Put a different one in.
It
It's one of those days, folks.
certainly is. Oh, this isn't turned on. That will help. So then you open that drawer. You've got to have it. Oh, you're going to use that one. Okay.
Sure.
And then we'll close.
Okay.
And then we'll.
Turn this one off.
So let's see.
So that should be that one, yeah.
This is 2?
Yeah, that's 2,
This
yeah.
is 2, is it?
Yeah. We're trying to see if we can use
Playing.
another.
I don't think that the CD is playing.
No, I don't either.
You have to say play.
Yeah, right. Now we're going to see if this particular CD will work. So I'm going to take my voice off.
It may be day or night. People may be in bed or driving in their car when their environment fills with a strange light. They report being taken from their surroundings by beings of unknown origin, often passing through the very walls around them, moving through the air and into what is sometimes described as a ship. In this new environment, they describe the presence of beings of generally humanoid appearance, with transfixing almond-shaped eyes and thin, narrow faces, some of whom may seem almost familiar. They describe being subjected to a series of physical examinations and medical-like procedures, apparently involving the taking of sperm, and telepathic contact is reported with these beings, who may attempt to soothe the individual's panic with a stare or an instrument, or with a simple touch. Often a visionary element is conveyed visually or telepathically, depicting images of life on Earth being threatened with extinction by natural or man-made forces. Subsequently, men and women alike may describe being presented with a child whom they understand to be their own, and who seems to be a hybrid.
Okay, folks, we seem to have it somewhat figured out by using another CD player. So this is the audio of John Mack and Bud Hopkins talking about abduction.
Offspring of the person and these beings. Upon their return, they may report discovering strange markings on their bodies and unexplained burn marks on the ground. These experiences challenge people's beliefs about the nature of the world.
Good evening. I think of this as sort of our own little Berkeley Street X-Files. Let's call it the alien connection. It may be about good aliens or bad aliens, or real aliens or imagined aliens. I just want to be clear, I'm not a partisan. I think my job tonight is simply to catalyze the conversation, to keep it on track. It's most certainly not to be on the subject. My friend John Mack, as everybody here knows, is a clinical psychiatrist and a professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. He was also a celebrated writer before the whole alien abduction subject came into his ken. He won a Pulitzer Prize for his biography, no small prize, for his life of T.E. Lawrence of Arabia. The book was called A Prince of Our Disorder. Bud Hopkins is the man who, among other things, brought John Mack into this field. Bud Hopkins is a painter and a sculptor. He was drawn into the abduction research field 20 years ago. By now he has tracked down 600 reports of these experiences with aliens. It was his seriousness and his good faith, as well as his evidence, that persuaded John Mack to take a harder look. And then it was the abductees, the experiencers, and their stories who convinced both of them in somewhat different ways, as we'll hear tonight, that something was going on here and that serious attention had to be paid. My question for John Mack and Bud Hopkins is beginning to end. What is your definition of the reality in which you think these things are happening? Are we talking real happenings in time and space, that can be verified as other such things can be? And if not that, how is this reality different, say, from dream reality? Is this the same dimension of reality as alien abduction? I think we're all ready to meet the principals, and I just asked them onto the stage, Bud Hopkins and John Mack. John Mack, the author of Abduction. Dr. John Mack. Thank you.
I want to thank Chris for taking this on and being willing to show up here in Boston and with a couple of disreputable characters like Bud and me, and shows his courage and pioneering spirit. I also want to express my appreciation to Bud for, I don't know if I really feel this way actually. I'm not so sure I am appreciative that he introduced me to this field. I mean, it's been a lot of trouble actually. But I have deep fondness and admiration for his pioneering role and spirit in this. What I'd like to see happen here tonight is that we really deepen some questions. I happen to be very interested in the reality question, or the ontological question as it's formally called in philosophy, and I hope to arouse and deepen your curiosity about all of this. Now, what happened to me with Bud is that somebody asked if I wanted to meet him. This was the fall of 1989, and I'd never heard of him. And they said, well, he's this guy that works with people who think they've been taken by aliens into the spacecraft. And I said, he must be crazy if he believes that, and this must be some new form of psychosis. Well, I had a couple of free hours, and I went to see him, and I liked him. He seemed sincere. He didn't seem crazy at all. And he was telling me about people who were telling stories that they didn't believe themselves, that they were questioning. They sounded like pretty healthy people, which I've seen now worked intensively with about 130 of these people, is that the stories are consistent, they are described with intense feeling, appropriate self-doubt, they are shocked when they hear other people have had the same experiences because that tends to affirm that it's real. They have nothing to gain by this, and they don't seem to fall into any category whatsoever. And as I've gone more deeply into this, this is held up. Now, the fact that what they are describing isn't possible in our reality is not my fault. What you then have a choice of trying to stretch what you might consider to be possible at that point. First, you have the event level element. Now, I believe overall this is a phenomenon of enormous complexity, meaning, and value for understanding of ourselves, who we are in the universe, and we're just beginning to grasp what this is about. So there aren't going to be answers here tonight, just deepening questions. First is the event level aspect. This is the sort of traumatic part, this mixture of subjective and objective elements that have to do with the intrusive, rape-like aspect for some people. The physical evidence is there. It's part of the picture, and it works together with the subjective evidence to create this picture. The trauma is not just what has happened, it's also what I call ontological shock. In other words, to the person having that experience, this is no more possible for them than it is for us. So we struggle together with that question. The second important element, in my perspective, is the information that occurs, and a great deal of this does have to do with the ecological aspect. In other words, the showing of the images, panorama of the planet destroyed, vast pollution, the earth destroyed on television-like monitors, through the eyes, in voice, in mind-to-mind communication by the beings, and this has an enormous impact on the consciousness of the individuals, and so much so that it affects deeply their choices in their lives, and I do believe this is not just deception, but I believe it's an important part of the phenomenon itself, and I see this in case after case. Next, you have what I call the spiritual aspect of this phenomenon. This is the sense that people have that they're somehow being open to source, returning to their what they call home with a capital H, the spiritual origin of all that is. And they feel that they are brought closer to that, and many experiencers feel that that's a fundamental part of this experience, that they're brought closer to the depth of being, the the Godhead, whatever you want to call it. There's different language for this. Here's one young woman's way of describing this. She said, I think Source's purpose for letting that happen, that is allowing the aliens to come, is to bring back memory of us, of Source, to empower ourselves. I think it's almost like a baby going from crawling to walking and realizing that I am. That's what I think Source's reason for this, I am. And a fourth element, which is, again, something where I think Bud and I differ, is the relationship between and there is not one type of alien perceived. The most common are these grays with the big black eyes, which I'd never heard of when I started this work, but there are also various other kinds of beings. And Bud sees the relationship as cold and different. In his autobiography, which he's sharing with me, he wrote at the very first page, he said, the mystery of those cold creatures who have come here from God knows where, subverting our truths and violating our planet. Well, there is that element in the beginning, but in my experience, if you work with the terror with the person, you work with the mystery, you have them sort of put the nose of the prow of the self into the phenomenon, that it does transform, that it does become more spiritual, that growth does occur. And sometimes there can be this, in not just this sort of transient sense of loving connection that is manipulated, but some deepening bond that lasts throughout this relationship across these dimensions, and that this is a very deep, powerful phenomenon. Why is there so much resistance to accepting, or at least realizing what's going on? And I think at the heart of this, even more fundamental than the terror of the helplessness, the lack of control, we know that it represents that, and people are afraid that they can't protect their children, and that this is a kind of intrusive, overwhelming kind of phenomenon. But I think even deeper than that is this ontological problem, in that this absolutely defies our categories. In other words, if we are if our worldview is one that can master knowledge through experiment, through the methods of basic science, this doesn't fall into a category that allows us to do that. It crosses over. You can't locate it. It is both physical and it is as if in another dimension at the same time. We can't get at it. The clients, although they'll make it clear, it's not a dream, it's real, it's altogether real. I know a dream, I wake up from a dream, this is different, I have knowledge of this, but they'll say, but it's not this reality. It comes through, as if through the scrim of a theater front, and enters into our reality, and it is in that reality altogether real, and it introduces them to a deeper fabric of reality that lies beyond this one. It seems to me at the heart of what is called for now is that we allow this phenomenon to, through the questions we ask, to expand our notions of reality, to include unseen realities as perhaps even a deeper reality, but an other reality, not simply the objective physical world, and that we learn to value knowledge that comes from those realms. I was a psychologist in Mexico recently said to me, and he was only half joking, he says, if I can't measure it, it doesn't exist. And he was quite serious about that. But what this phenomenon, I think, along with many others, like the near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences does, it invites us to value knowledge that comes from the subtle realms. In other words, it asks us to credit our experiences, to develop criteria for how do we judge whether an experience can be taken seriously. Is it because thousands of people are having the same experience? Well, you could say, well, all having the same delusion. Well, how do we decide? I think these people haven't known each other. They're doubtful about these experiences. I have certain criteria by which I decide these experiences are to be taken seriously. It goes along with the physical evidence. It's that combination, but we don't have a methodology yet. And I think I'd like to close with the point that I don't think that this phenomenon is going to be proven. In other words, I think that the deepening of our understanding and knowledge, the expansion of ourselves in relation to it and other similar phenomena is going to occur by crediting and allowing other ways of knowing about reality. In other words, expanding the way we know and what we credit as important. I don't think it's going to yield its secrets to the frameworks of proof that we have developed to apply to phenomena that are purely in the material world. Thanks.
Thank you. Bud Hopkins, as you probably all know, is the author, maybe most famously, of Intruders. It's a book. It's also a general theory of what's going on here. Bud Hopkins.
I am very pleased to be here and flattered to be here, and I would like to express my appreciation to John and to his associates and to Karen and those who planned this. I would just like to also say something about my respect for John Mack, for his courage, for the difficulties that he's undergone in bringing a very unconventional subject to the attention of a university that perhaps is overly frightened by something as new and dramatic as this. But I think any human being in this room would have to admit that if the UFO phenomenon is occurring, as the report suggests, it's the most important event in human history. And if that's the case, I don't think any institution or organization is being very wise to oppose the investigation, the serious investigation of such a phenomenon. In order to discuss this intelligently, we must know that the data we're relying on is reliable data, is solid. The data, of course, comes mainly from the reports of the people who have had these experiences, plus a whole range of attendant physical evidence, which I don't want to go into at this point. Now, what do we know about the UFO experience in terms of the reliability of what the aliens say? And I use the word aliens for want of a better term. The first thing is that the aliens are extraordinarily deceptive and operate in a covert manner. There is no doubt about that. There is no possible way that anyone who's looked into this phenomenon can say anything to the contrary of that, simply because we have a whole history of what we have to call screen memories, when the UFO occupants make us see things that are not there in order to hide the way they actually appear, the way the memory of the experience very, very often has been stolen from us, which is not only an act of theft, it's an act of deception, and it can't possibly really be defended so far as I'm concerned. Now, there are all kinds of wonderful stories to illustrate this sort of control that they can have over our perceptions. I was working with a woman once who was recalling an experience. She's on the table inside a ship. There's a physical examination taking place. It's extremely painful, demeaning, and so forth, and she is not only enraged and furious, but she's scared to death, and she's undergoing pain. And the head alien, as we know from these accounts, often happens, walks over, puts his hand across her forehead, and she said the pain disappeared. She felt waves of the most profound love she has ever felt in her life. She said she would sacrifice her own children for the love that she felt for this being. It was just beyond anything she had ever known. No pain, no anger, and total love. He walked away from her, took his hand away, of course. The pain came back. She began to get angry again. She was hurting again. She was furious again. And he came back and he put his hand on her head, and she would have again sacrificed her children for that love. Now, that kind of manipulation is, of course, something that's part and parcel with the alien means of operating. At any rate, this kind of deception goes on and on. People have been made to feel that they were themselves aliens in an early life, made to see themselves as if they have alien hands and so forth. All kinds of imagery seems to be played into people's heads. I know this totally sounds crazy. You have to read the background information supporting this. But I'm trying to start with what I assume many of you already know about the phenomenon. So the basic first point here is that we can't trust the data, that we can't trust what the aliens are saying to us under any conditions. As a second major fact, we know what happens to individuals who are reporting abduction experiences psychologically. We know that they are psychologically scarred. The only set of psychological tests which, so far as I know, were ever done on this matter were done, I was partly involved in this in 1981. Dr. Elizabeth Slater, a psychologist, tested a group of abductees, or people reporting these experiences. She was not told the nature of the sample she was testing, anything about their UFO experiences, but she found that all of them shared 3 deficits psychologically. All had low self-esteem, all had a certain dissociation in their attitude towards their bodies, their physicality, their sexuality, and all had a lot of trouble trusting people. Well, at any rate, she pointed out when we later told her after she wrote a report the nature of the sample that she had tested and what they had experienced, and she said, though this doesn't prove anything, if these people had had the experiences they reported, then these are precisely the kinds of deficits one would imagine would accrue. And she said it's very much like what happens when you get a rape victim. Now, the next thing is, are these experiences, and I'll try to be very brief, are these experiences transformational?
All right, it's almost the end of the show. Again, I apologize for the mess up. It was kind of fun talking to different people on the phone. Maybe that's a good way to get people to call. All you have to do is shout, help, help. And fortunately, Joe came back and we got it straightened out. I'm still not quite sure exactly what happened, but at least we got it working again. So I want to thank you for listening and invite you to come back next week and promise, well, I can't promise, but probably less screw-ups than tonight. And that I hope people still consider calling because that makes the show most exciting. And wish you have a good week. It doesn't look like any storms are out there. And hopefully that'll be the case. And so, as always, embrace the mystery and especially embrace the mystery that is you.